Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Russia used every major social media platform from YouTube and Instagram to Facebook and Twitter to spread propaganda and influence the 2016 US presidential election. That's the conclusion of a damning report released by the US Senate. Our North America editor John Sopel is at the White House for us. The report's out today, but we knew some of this already, didn't we?
Yeah, you're right to say that, because what happened just after the 2016 election was that the intelligence agencies themselves came out with a unanimous view that there had been an attempt by the Russians to interfere in the presidential election. It's like taking that report and multiplying by 10, because what these two reports for the Intelligence Committee of the Senate have found out is, as you say, they try to interfere systematically on a much wider scale on every platform with events tailored to support Donald Trump and worked even harder to support him while in office. And what they did was they fed conspiracy theories out there to Trump supporters in order to inflame them to go out to vote for Donald Trump, and among support people who might not be thought to likely to vote for Donald Trump, African Americans, for example, there was an attempt at voter suppression. It's not worth going out to vote, don't bother and stay at home. Now, Donald Trump has never bought into the conclusion that there was Russian interference particularly, or that it affected the outcome of this election. He said it may have been interference and there may have been other countries as well. This report firmly points the finger at Russia as trying to help Donald Trump. There's been no response from the White House.
John Sopel in Washington, thank you.
The US now, and Donald Trump has often been criticised for his failure to grasp the subtlety or even detail of many a foreign policy problem. But there has been no doubt that his unconventional approach looked as if it was triggering a remarkable détente with the young autocrat who still rules North Korea. One only has to think of that summit in Singapore and the warm relationship the two leaders seemed to establish. But as Kim Jong-un honoured his father and predecessor on the anniversary of his death, the deep freeze in Pyongyang seems symbolic of the distinct cooling in relations with the West.
For North Koreans, this marks one of the great rituals of life in Pyongyang, paying tribute to their former ruler Kim Jong-il on the 7th anniversary of his death. Also highly visible in the ceremonies was his son Kim Jong-un, who appears to be secure in power and to be playing a masterful diplomatic game with both the United States and South Korea. The latest announcement from the North Koreans is a warning to the United States that sanctions will never work in forcing the regime to give up its nuclear or missile programs. It is all a long way from the heady days of June, when President Trump and Kim Jong-un met for that historic summit in Singapore.
It will be tremendously successful, and it's my honor, and we will have a terrific relationship, I have no doubt.
At that optimistic encounter, the Americans stated their goal was nothing less than the complete, verifiable and irreversible denuclearization of North Korea. There have been some token gestures, including this destruction of military testing facilities. But the consensus of analysts who observe the regime is that Kim Jong-un has continued to maintain his missile program, possibly even expanding it. Where there has been progress is in confidence-building measures along the demilitarized zone. Last week, officers from the north and the south shaking hands and agreeing to joint inspections of their military positions. A small but meaningful gesture. But the bigger question remains: does Kim Jong-un have any intention of dismantling his nuclear arsenal? Or is he simply buying time and aiming to outwit the Americans?
And Robert joins us now from Washington. Robert, would it be fair to say, do you think, at this point, that the president's problems do seem to be stacking up a bit?
Oh, that's certainly true, Tom. I mean, North Korea has been the big foreign policy gamble of his presidency so far. And given this new, rather abrasive rhetoric coming from Pyongyang, it appears that bet may not be paying off. There are questions being raised about whether a second Trump Kim summit would take place. That was scheduled to happen within the next couple of months. And on the domestic front, you know, Trump's bragging rights were based on the strength of the economy and a surging stock market. Both appear to be very much open to doubt now. The stock market probably will end this year down, the worst performance for a decade. It fell over 2% just today. And then, Tom, arching over all of this, of course, is the Mueller investigation, looking at those alleged links between the Trump campaign and Russia. And whatever its conclusions about that, about Russia, it does appear to be a damning indictment of the president's business dealings. So the president's about to take a 16-day break in Florida. Lucky him, you might say, but given these legal, political and economic storm clouds on the horizon, it is unlikely to be a particularly festive period.
Okay, Robert, thank you very much indeed.
I've been